I'm John the Divine,
Well, good evening, John.
and I am so glad to be here this evening. And some people have called me Saint John, and that's what I am called in the Bible. If you were not sure that that's who I am, I find that difficult sometimes because the saint part comes from a church. I am no more a saint than you are. You people sitting in this room could call yourself Saint Darcy, Saint Sue, Saint Macklin, and Saint Rosanna. You have accomplished a major accomplishment in your spiritual growth. This is an amazing place to be. I first was aware of ascension because I was a follower of Jesus, and I was there when Jesus ascended. And at that time, he had me take care of his mother, Mary, for about 15 years. I stayed with her until her ascension. And she and Jesus helped me to understand what initiation was about. And so therefore I could ascend. And that's what Revelation is all about. It's about ascension. I would like to explain a little bit more about that this evening and help you in a way that you would not have heard of other ways or from other places. You see, Jesus and Mary were of the Essenes. This was a cult, as you might say a cult, because they were an isolated group that did not participate with the Jewish faith. They lived in a separate community, actually had many separate communities that did not really. They were around the Jewish community and went there when they needed to, but it was not part of their social life, so to speak. They really were not a cult. They were actually probably the most free individuals spiritually that have lived, besides those that first came to Lemuria. They were probably the most free spirits of those that have lived on the planet. And it was this energy that when Atlantis blew up, they were trying to rid that energy from continuing the law of one against the sons of Baal. And in that case, they used the crystals for energy, which you will be using for energy also because it does not pollute and it is free energy. You have been in bondage to the oil companies, and this is going to be changing. Anything you can do to not use that kind of product is going to disempower them, because the actual culture that you are in will be moving into electricity from crystals as time moves on. So the energy and the learning that came from this spiritual group was very important to where you are today. Mother Mary's mother, Anna, was a highly evolved in spiritual ascension, lived hundreds of years because she understood how to, through her initiations, how to accomplish that. And because of that, she was able to teach and go to the other places around that area that they had initiations to continue her learning and growing and continuing her life. So she traveled around the Mediterranean to various other Essene communities and to India and to Egypt. And they spent a great deal of time up in Britain where the Druids were. And the Druids and the Essenes were very much interacting with each other in the initiations and helping each other to do that. You see, initiation is not really all that much of a mystery. It was a mystery, and the mystery schools were very prevalent at one time and all done in secret. But today, the real mystery is just changing and releasing your negative energy, which most people talk about today. So it's not a mystery of how to ascend your consciousness anymore. But in the days when the culture was very dark, that was very threatening. Love was very threatening to those people, and they would do anything to not allow that love to survive. In fact, Marilyn had several lives where she was killed for trying to perpetuate and continue the truth in scrolls for the coming ages that you are in now. And was killed several times because the work she was doing was so threatening. So today, to change and releasing your fears, all of the fears that are perpetuated as guilt and resentments, anger, shame, jealousies, that sometimes you call them the 7 deadly sins, that's what you're changing. That's the mystery, is leaving behind the darkness and moving into the light of God, the love of God, the light that's always been within you. As you came to earth, that light was shielded by the fear. It was stopped by the fear. And so you could deal with your karma. But now you have left that position, and your light can shine. And the mystery is no longer a mystery. It is just saying anything that comes up at this point is to release it and saying, this is not aligned with God's love. No mystery. You just have to identify, be aware, and release that negative or uncomfortable feeling. Words or thoughts or actions. Don't wait until the next day to say, I'll be a better person. That night, when you realize that there's something that was amiss, immediately identify it as quickly as you can and release it, saying, this is not of God's alignment, it's not of love, and I release it. And replace it with God's loving grace. So you see, it's not a mystery of how to move into that loving ascension. You are ascending into being a whole person, you are ascending into maturity, you are ascending into who you truly are, your higher self, and that lower self is no longer necessary. You have accomplished that and those lessons that were with that. So you have ascended into your higher self at this point. And in Jesus doing that, he was trying to explain to people energy in the Bible. That's what the parables were about. He couldn't say words like karma. He couldn't say words like energy and vibration. People in those days were not prepared and involved enough, as far as involved enough to deal with physics like you people today are. So he had to give stories which showed the lessons he was trying to share. Today we can use the words like energy and love in a way that is productive, and you have a better understanding that the higher the vibration, the more loving the energy. So you see that Jacob's ladder was one way to explain that. As you move into this place that you have been called as far as the New Testament, he was demonstrating this love to others. He was trying to be a way shower that love is the best policy. Honesty gets you where you want to be have integrity and to be truthful and shine your light to help others, to forgive and have compassion. He was an example of that. And many of you have been accomplishing that for some time. And your chakras are open because that was your survival. And we want to move you into thriving tonight. Not just knowing the word love, but we really want to open your chakras this evening so that the total love of God will show you that heaven on earth, and it can manifest and flow through you and return to you. You see, it's all about the energy flowing, and so when you take away the blockages, which is what the mystery schools were accomplishing, was taking away the blockages to this flow of love to your life. And at this point in time, third dimension, the highest you could go was just to have your chakras functioning, you might say. And they kept you as healthy as possible because they were open and you were connecting and interfacing with God's energy and love and light, and you were functioning on a very high level, the people in this room. And that is so commendable. And I would like to take you through just a short little process so that instead of just surviving, we're going to take you into thriving in a higher consciousness, a God consciousness that will actually manifest in your life, so that as you are being that conduit to others, that energy will manifest. Everything is spirit, and it will come to you in any form that you need. So I'd like you to focus on your first chakra, your root chakra. And to see that ball of sphere inside and watch it get faster and spin faster and faster and faster until it is a ball of bright, shining, a sunlit ball of light, bright as light can be, the brightest light that you can imagine. That chakra, it was actually staying there, and now you have it spinning into a wonderful, wonderful light that is now balancing and going into your chakra place. Instead of just staying there, it is actually in motion. The energy is in motion. Not just surviving, but actually producing a new energy of light within you. Now let that light from that sun, very sunny ball inside the root chakra shoot a column of light up to your second chakra. And that sphere is going to start rotating and moving very fastly too. Your second chakra, your relationships, and all those parts that pertain to that are going to spin that ball, that sphere, until it again, this chakra becomes extremely bright, like the sun's light, very bright, wonderfully, extremely bright. And it is moving and shooting up a channel of light to the third chakra. And that sphere of your third chakra is now moving, and moving very fast, a very fast moving sphere into a very bright, bright ball of the sun's very bright light. See it shining bright as can be. And the energy is shooting up again into your fourth chakra. And in your fourth chakra, the sphere is a ball turning into speeding into a very fast rotation. Very fast speeding, running around, or moving and rotating into a ball of sun. Very bright, bright light. And moving into motion. And now let that energy shoot up into your fifth chakra. And that sphere is now starting to rotate very quickly and fast. Very much into that bright, bright, shiny sun inside, that ball of sunlight. It's actually moving extremely fast as it rotates. Instead of just sitting there, it is now in motion. Very, very brightly shining. And letting a shaft of light move into your sixth chakra. And let that sphere start to rotate. And let that sphere rotate very, very brightly. Right as it goes about and rotating as bright as it possibly can, shining, moving, energy is speeding around in a very like sunlight ball shape. And it's shooting a shaft into your seventh chakra. And that sphere is now evolving and moving very quickly into it rotating, and very quickly fast moving into a very bright shiny ball, a shiny sunny ball of energy moving in motion extremely fast. So the light is there, and it's definitely having energy moving. And in changing all your chakras from just subsisting into this new place of empowerment where you have become Christed, you can now claim your birthright as a child of God, that you are divine love, that you are divine wisdom, divine harmony, divine abundance, and divine joy. That you always have been and always will be one with the Source. You, the Source inside of you, has met the creative source. The God in you is meant the God of the universe. And as you move into this merging, this marriage, you are to go out and shine your light, knowing there is nothing to fear, nothing to harm you. You are totally vulnerable in God's protection. A mighty fortress is our God. You are protected with God's love. The best protection you can have. Call on it whenever you need. Your guides and masters will continue to be with you, knowing that you still need guidance through this new place in your expansion. It might be confusing or a little unsettling at times, but use your meditation and calm yourself down and you will find your way. You don't need experts and you don't need the television. You don't need the medical profession with their toxic drugs. You will find your way and you will be in the right place at the right time with the right way to help somebody. You will intuitively know what to do in a situation that might have before baffled you. You will have omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence. You are always present in God's life. God is life. You have always had the answers inside. And you have always had the power if you used it. The trick is to use it rightly. And that was about the last channeling, was the right use of love, the right use of this power. There will still be challenges and there still will be some lessons. But you have all the ability to make the right choices. Life is about choice. I wish you well in your choosing as you go about being an example of God in service and there for those that need it. Whatever comes before you is God's way to send help to that person, place, or situation. You are there to be of service in a loving, productive way. And it might not be real showy. You might not show up on television or have your name in lights. You see, there is no judgment or comparison in spirit. It just is. So it doesn't matter how big and glorious your work is. It might be very menial to you. It might not be important to you. But it's just as important as something that looks big and glorious. In the spiritual world, it is all of the same energy. Nothing is bigger or less. It is all in the appropriate energy necessary without comparison. So don't put yourself down if something comes along and you just take a spider out the door because it belongs outside. Very simple way to help preserve life. That might be more important than something that you might think was very, very impressive. Do not discount the smallest thing that you can do, because when you do it to the least of these, you do it to me. It's just what God said. Do not discount your efforts, which is very often what people will do. Your life is an example to others. Jesus was that example, and you are being that example too. You have left the trauma and drama and come into heaven on earth as a mature person. That's what Christ was. The Christ in us is being a mature person. Enjoy your new experience, knowing all is well, all has always been well, and welcome to heaven on earth. I am so glad you were here this evening to join me in the ascension, ascending your lower self into your higher self. Own your divine life. So it is. Thank you for being here tonight. I wish you all a good evening.
Thanks, John.